Hello and welcome to Around the Verse, our weekly look at the development of Star Citizen. I'm Sandy Gardner.
And I'm Chris Roberts. We have an all Banu show today, a look at their lore and the newest Banu ship.
And later we'll share how you can earn a trip to Gamescom, plus some fun Star Kitten rewards.
I wonder what Star Kitten is. But first, let's go to our Los Angeles studio update. They've got some pretty cool stuff to show you.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Los Angeles. I'm senior producer Eric Kyron Davis, here with your monthly studio update. We've grown to 74 total employees across several disciplines with one thing in common, making Star Citizen and Squadron 42 the best games possible. Now, some of those new hires include talented engineers, which bring our engineering team to about 12. All their vast and varying experience is quickly helping to bring more features to life across both games. Soon, all of our new ships will have a heat and power component, now that the team has finished designing pipes and begun implementing their basic structure. This will manage the flow of respective elements to allow individual component contribution to ship behavior. So, for example, coolers now contribute to how much heat the system can handle rather than being statically defined by the heatsink. Anyway, we're currently replacing the old system in the new ships with this new management system. After this is done, the team must implement the minute details of each component influencing one another. For example, coolers not only affect the overheat temperature limit, they also offer IR signature masking. Heat sinks will no longer simply define the temperature at which components overheat and shut down. The heat will ramp up to its desired temperature rather than being generated instantaneously. Now, we've talked about shops in our last update, and now the purchase transaction system has been re-implemented with our new replicated function system called remote methods. This system will decrease the amount of calls to the server, which in turn should make purchasing things a bit more responsive. Next, we'll be working on improving the try-on mode and the client-side update to your persistent data after purchases. Since the previous update about the ultimate light switch, the light group entity also has several new features. Its light state can also be changed by track view, which is very useful for cinematics. It allows for individual directional lights to now rotate with a simple property. The process was, previously required flow graph. The light groups can now replace the antiquated prefabs that vehicle external lights have been using. And now next, the team aims to get the light groups on a vehicle to rely on the vehicle's power in order to control all lights as well as interior devices such as doors. And lastly, on the engineering team, we've been hard at work on what we call the control manager. This system will automatically give authority over items across the game and will allow players to dictate the control of an item and its sub-items. Now, in the past, we've had a system prototype for vehicles that was hard-coded, which meant that item connections would have to be manually defined by the designer. For instance, a particular seat always controlled a specific set of items, but now the control manager will be able to connect to any entity. For example, a designer would add a control manager to a turret, and then weapons are added. The turret that can then be controlled by either an AI module or by an operator seat, the player. This can also be added to the vehicle with either an AI module or, again, the operator seat. The framework we've set up is universal, so it can be used anywhere on anything. And this isn't restricted to weapon systems. If a player wants to control doors on a space station and terminals with an operator seat, it will link you and you can operate whatever it controls. Now, the really exciting thing about the control manager is it will allow for multi-crew play, depending on which seat you're sitting in. On our test ship, the person in the operator seat controls the weapons, but can switch them to the AI control and then reclaim control again. We've now completed adding this to DataForge, so designers no longer have to manually state what each controller does. The system now knows what each control operates, so with a set priority, it would manage itself. However, if the designer still wants to get that extra level of control or just let the system function as it wants to, they can do so. Now, over on our ship team here in Los Angeles, they've completed the white box phase of the Anvil Terrapin and moved into the gray box phase, which includes the final geo on the pilot seat, the cockpit, the main engines, landing gear, and housing. Meanwhile, the white box is already up and flying for our initial tests. We've also done some basic rigs and animation on the landing gear and on the landing gear housing. The team is making steady progress on the RSI Aurora as well. We're working on cockpit controls, MFD screens, and the sleeping quarters. They've also been through general polish, such as palms, decals, and LODs. It's starting to look like much more than the modern-day descendant of the X-7 spacecraft and is heading to the landing pad at maximum thrust. Now, our QA team has been quite busy. They've been testing our new ships in the pipeline and started working on our new animation pipeline. Also, one of the biggest projects they're undertaking is testing the new planetary tech on moons, such as Daymar. The team has had so much fun testing this new tech that they really don't want to go home. We're really looking forward to getting this to you as soon as we can in the upcoming 3.0 release. Our tech content team has been very busy supporting, building, improving, and assessing all of our processes and pipelines to increase performance, reduce dev time, and help deliver every aspect of Star Citizen and Squadron 42. For instance, with multiple asset pipelines, one of our biggest challenges is maintaining consistency across every asset. This means that the tech art team is constantly evaluating and auditing our materials to achieve the best and most efficient result. To ensure such consistency, all the asset dev teams really need to create and maintain a shared use of a single unified library. Maintaining such a library for a universe full of assets requires vigilance and maintenance. Our most recently completed audit included sound tutorials and clear documentation for all of our best practices. Also, animation is a lot like any other asset. It has a certain memory footprint that needs to be streamed in and out of the game. Think of an animation database like an object container, but for animations. The DBA, or Database of Animations, is an optimized animation container comprised of hundreds of animations compressed down to a fraction of their typical size on the disk. Splitting them up logically is important because the speed of streaming will be affected depending on the size of said DBA. For example, a locomotion set can be fairly heavy as it's comprised of hundreds of animations from walking, running, turning, idling, everything in between, causing streaming of a large file to take a few frames. Perhaps you've noticed your character sliding prior to the animation beginning, which is a product of a DBA that's just too large. So Tech Animation developed a tool to create, manage, and sort these animations within that DBA. Our goal is to ensure that while you're streaming seamlessly through the Star Citizen universe, your animations will be streaming right along with you. Another boon on performance are asset errors. These can be quite difficult to identify when the only way to find them is parsing through a 200 megabyte text log line by line. So this month, engineering, tech art, and DevOps teamed up to automatically output and track errors and warnings associated with certain assets for easy assignment, better visibility, and quicker turnaround in everything from needed fixes to undefined behaviors that could negatively impact the overall gameplay experience. With the implementation of Item 2.0, characters within Star Citizen will become fundamentally different than the characters in our base engine. So, to manage them, we needed to create a specific loadout editor tool. And now that that editor tool has been used in production, we've made some major improvements that allow for more developers to get up to speed quickly on the usage of this tool. With new icons, documentation, and general workflow improvements, we are now expect the loadouts to be easier and faster to create. Now, our new skinning tool also handles more complex rigs, setups, and LODs. It takes our CGA format, which is a hierarchy of animated meshes, collisions, and constrained pistons, to become a unified set of skins with LODs that are bound to an animated skeleton with physics. This tool also reduces our turnaround for skinning complex setups and improves the overall process. Now, a critical feature required for our characters is that the weapons move to their designated positions accurately when players switch armor. Tech Art worked within the confines of the skeleton extension system to develop an override technique to utilize the correct helper position based on each asset. This means attachments will now inherit positions in real time as you attach and detach armor pieces. You don't want your gun hanging off the wrong part of your armor. Not only would it look silly, but it can slow you down when switching weapons after you run out of ammo on your trusty sidearm. And also in terms of attachments, the most complex character we've set up to date is the Heavy Marine. A fully equipped Heavy Marine has the most physical attachments or weapons than any of our other characters. This presented, some pretty unique challenges, trying to fit 4 grenades, 8 magazines, 2 med pens, 2 gadgets, 1 sidearm, and 2 weapons onto a single character makes for quite the game of Tetris. The Heavy Marine has now been completed and is ready to hit the battlefield fully equipped. Now the character team is making solid progress across handfuls of different outfits, uniforms, and aliens. Opposite of the Heavy Marine is our Heavy Outlaw, which has completed its in-game mesh and will move right on into texturing, rigging, and implementation. So it's not going to be too long before the Heavy Marine will have its potential match out there in the verse. Now in Squadron 42, we're cranking through various characters from major and from the minor background roles. And this one has now passed to the high poly stage and moved right on into in-game modeling and texturing. The OMC Undersuit has completed its high poly pass, making it ready for in-game mesh and for texturing. The Marine BDU has moved through texturing and onto its final stages. We have a medical rep who has finished up her high poly phase and soon will be in-game modeling. Last but not least, concepts for the Xi'an and Banu are wrapping up, and our newest quest givers, Rudo and Miles Eckhart, are getting ready to meet you in the verse in the very near future. Well, that's it for us here in Los Angeles. Thank you, as always, for your support, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks, guys. Watching the QA guys test the canyon runs looks like a lot of fun. And as Star Citizen grows, the persistent universe will expand to more than just the Crusader moons.
Yes, I mean, definitely. So not only will there be more environments to explore, but another important aspect is other alien species that you'll be able to interact with.
And one of those alien species is the Banu, which is the first alien civilization that humanity discovered. They might be known as traders and merchants, but there's so much more to their culture than that. Take a look.
So we're here to talk Banu.
Yeah, you were here when the Banu were first thought of, like from conception, right?
Yeah, they were the part of the original time capsule. They were humanity's first contacts.
From like a meta perspective, was it just you were just trying to think of who humanity would encounter, or was there a need particularly for like a trading group? Or
Early on, there was sort of, in the very rough conversations with Chris, I think it was just trying to figure out like what are the sort of paragons of kind of creatures and civilizations were we going to deal with. And there was always this sort of image, I remember from early conversations about that sort of Morocco in the 1940s, like very vibrant, colorful, lush, but with that sort of intrigue and danger and mystery and the back alley type thing. And going off of the allegory of the decline of the Roman Empire, if the Xi'an were sort of the influence of China and the Vandals were the Visigoths and the Tavaran was sort of feudal Japan, then the Banu would be sort of the Persian Empire. That was sort of their initial role.
So when it comes to the look of them, the older designs that we had lots of ridges on the face and they're kind of a little scarier. So what I've wanted to do with them is kind of try to bring some color into them. I really think that it's a place that we can explore some color in the Star Citizen universe, especially with our aliens. So right now, we're kind of getting into exploring skin tones, exploring why they would have different skin tones, why those things would exist. But then also some of the things that I liked about the old design was all the lines on the face. I think that's an interesting design language, so I've tried to pick that up again and run with it a little bit more.
Humanity's first encounter with the Banu was sort of a mixed bag. There was
and it was our first contact ever
period.
with an alien species.
We had discovered jump points. We were able to terraform, but we hadn't run into any aliens yet. And so jump points at the time, obviously, still are sort of that big, holy grail for exploration. So people are very protective of areas that they're scanning. And the story was that there was this guy, Vernon Tarr, who was out scanning this patch of space, looking for jump points, and he saw another ship show up on his radar and was like convinced that someone was trying to horn in on his territory. And so he took a shot at it and then realized far too late that it was an alien spacecraft and freaked out and called the cops, basically, and and that was it. And they ended up forming the first intergalactic treaty.
But we found out later that the reason why he was so happy to be found by us is that he
a fugitive.
that Banu was a fugitive from the law. He was on the run. So our first Banu that we encountered was a criminal. He had upset one of the guilds, and they were chasing him down.
And so this Banu, who was on the run from the law, basically became, really probably kind of a hero of his age.
Something that I've been wanting to get across is features that the players can connect with, that we can associate with. So there is a little bit of a human element to this design. A lot in the eyes, a lot in some of the general structure of the face. But I do want to get across some of the more creepy elements. So their skin is a little shiny and it's a little almost fish or eel-like. There's they're breathing. The way that it looks like they could breathe is maybe in lots of different places. Some crests on their head, like things that are just not really natural, things that aren't, but also balancing the human parts to that. In the clothing that they're wearing, it's going to be very decadent, right? It's going to have lots of different types of patterns in it. It's going to have lots of different colors in it. And that's to show all these different places that they've been, that they're not just pulling from one influence from one location. It should show a little bit of their history. Just when you look at them, you should be able to see where they've been or who they are and where they come from. We've been really getting invested in who the Banu are as a species, and something I find that's really interesting with the Banu is that they're very specialized. So, if they're a soldier, they've been trained to be a soldier. If they're a merchant, they've been trained their whole lives to be a merchant. If whatever they are, they have specialized in that, and they're very specialized. That's not very typical in a lot of cultures.
For interest's sake and for having it be more fun, we try to set up all the cultures kind of opposed to each other, and the farther away they can get, the more interesting it is. So when we were looking at this trading group, we started asking, all right, what makes them really interesting as traders, and part of this use of reliance on a barter system, and that having be the main value of the wealth, and what do they do with that accrual of wealth, and kind of that's where it started developing the idea that was the important aspect of their society, of the very real and physical. You can see what I'm worth because it's right here with me now.
Look around. That's how important I am.
Yeah.
Because material things are very important to a Banu to signify their position and station in life. Like their ships tend to reflect this kind of artisanal quality to it, of having really nicely etched flooring and stuff like that, because it's more impressive. And their ship that they're most known for currently is the Merchantman, which is a massive, reiterate that.
Because that's not
ship.
Really just a ship to them used for transport. That's their home, and that's why it's on such a big scale, that has all their belongings aboard that they travel around with, and that kind of idea of that traveling bazaar that they would come visiting with people is, kind of taking some inspiration from early Bedouin and nomadic traders, that they're moving with everything they own, and it's important to them in that way.
And the background of the Banu is very tricky because we circled in on this idea that they have no real sense of history. That's never really held a lot of importance to them. So they don't care who invented the Merchantman. They just care that the Merchantman is a ship that works and is effective at what it does. And they'll retain the sort of instructional manual of how to design and build one, but they could care less that so-and-so built it in whatever year on this place because of this reason. It holds no interest to them. What is important is this is a ship that is built, that's built for transport and cargo, and is effective, and so that becomes the primary thing for them.
Yeah, if they were viewing American history, the walk away for them would be America as a country. They wouldn't care that it used to be part of Britain, because that doesn't matter anymore. It's not part of Britain anymore, and they wouldn't care that this was the independence year, because it's independent. What difference does it make when it happened? So
it happened so long ago.
Boiling it down to the important facts that they pass on. So, their history is more like a series of manuals than it is kind of like a timeline recording. And because of that, it's been very difficult for humans to have pieced together the Banu history before they met them.
The big aspect of thing is about accruing stuff. So accruing stuff means you've lived a full life, you've been a lot of places, you've met a lot of people, you've done a lot of things, and that's it. So it's very much about living in the present.
So because the Banu are so heavily in trade, One thing that's also interesting about them is that they don't necessarily look friendly, right? They could be a little aggressive, they could be a little awkward. So what they try to do, and this is part of why they put all their stuff out on display, is to show you that they're friendly, right? Because in the ships, they're gonna have rooms, their greeting room. And when you come into the greeting room, this is all their stuff that you can see. And maybe behind these closed doors, it looks totally different, but they put everything out on display for you. Their costuming and their clothes should also be impacted in the same way. So maybe they're carrying lots of little trinkets, or maybe the types of clothes they have are from all different places in the universe where, it's gonna show that they've been to all these kinds of places, or something that's very rare and very valuable from somewhere far, far away. They're trying very hard to come off as appealing, even though they naturally aren't. They should be a little creepy, they should be a little awkward, it's kind of the judging a book by its cover thing, where they probably wouldn't be the person you're gonna come up to and say, like, this guy's gonna be super friendly, I really wanna trade with this guy. But as soon as you get to know them, you can see that they're very friendly, and that they're willing to do business with you, and that they wanna make you as pleasant and as comfortable in their space and around them. And I think that's really interesting. So it is a difficult balance to say, I want to, when we're designing this race, that they need to both come off as a little awkward, a little creepy, a little uncomfortable, but also friendly, also appealing. And that's, I think, the balance that we're trying to capture right now with these guys.
Developing the Banu culture is important because it also helps us create other aspects of their civilization, like their ships, language, design choices, and many other things.
And since the Banu are known for borrowing technology from other species, that idea was actually used in their ship design.
Yes, so up next, I will share a look at our newest spacecraft, the Banu Defender.
So the ship is called the Defender. And it literally is that. It's not an aggressive ship. I mean, it's a very unique looking ship.
We needed to link up with the writing team in LA, so David and Will, to find out what the Banu are about, if there are any specific things that we needed to take in mind when we made the ship.
We knew from the beginning that if they had like a fighting ship, it would probably be an escort ship primarily, because what would they want to do with it? They would want to protect their valuable trading ship.
What we generally do there is we take the requirements from Ben and Chris, and we look at ships similar to that role to see kind of where it fits in the universe.
And I think initially there was about 18 initial ideas of just different configurations, often with like the two pods. That's been a major feature, and also taking into account, on the Merchantman, we've got there's ramps feature heavily, and trying to sort of just tie that in as well. So on this one, I think Chris picked 3 that he liked, and then we kind of just riffed on those, a little more in 2D, a little more in 3D, just super blocky. It's almost what looks good first, and then we can sort of come back from that and go, okay, well, how do we actually make this work?
As we've learned more about not only our game systems, but as the race itself, that's also been slowly being brought up to date and adjusting.
Yeah,
and
we just had a conversation with the UK guys about like room assignment, what room does what, and stuff like that, and it's really opening up some really interesting, like some really fascinating, unique things about how a Banu crew works, and then compared and contrasted with the human crew. It's very, very different and very weird.
The Banu, quite interestingly, have it's kind of like a social system where very specifically trained in a field. Unlike the UAE ships where it's just one man in a fighter, they have possibly a fighter and a gunner, and instead of the gunner being in a turret, they're actually manning the main ship weapons alongside the pilot. So they're trained to work in tandem rather than like a generalist role, which is why there's a dual cockpit system going on with it.
Right off the bat, we did like a typical sort of human configuration. Things in racks, and it was instantly obvious that wasn't going to work. It was out of place. The whole rigidity and the structure was complete opposite to what we're sort of trying to get for the interior. And so there was a lot of drawing, a lot of line work, just to sort of, again, it was all about flow lines, curving from the roof down to the floor, So after a little more chat with Nate and Jay Brushwood, we decided to really go for like a sort of it's like a horizontal shutter system basically. So this whole thing will just like open up and just go tick, 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 and just reveal all the components, and they will be in a sort of structure, but the facade is still very sort of Art Nouveau, sweeping, organic, and it'll make quite a nice experience. I think it should be there. You'll push the button, you'll have this reveal, and then you can change out your components, or change your fuses, or whatever it is that you want to do.
So the Defender, as an example, has a bigger shield than most of the fighters we've got in the game, especially of the same size. However, as a counterpoint, it's got a very weak hull. So the second you get through that shield, you're in trouble.
The Defender has a Xi'an engine on it. And at a certain point, they were like, oh, this engine's much better suited for this ship than the previous engine that we had on there. So they got the engine design, they retro-engineered it, they figured it out, they started manufacturing it, and now it's a Xi'an engine incorporated into their tech.
It kind of comes in two configurations. There's like a flight configuration and a landed configuration. I really like the landed configuration. It just creates a really nice silhouette, and you'll know straight away that's the Defender when you see it on a landing pad. There's just no way you'll mistake it.
One of the things that we've been talking about internally was the idea that they, as a culture, they don't have fine art, but the idea being that kind of creative energy goes into the manufacturing of the thing. So that's why they, like, all their stuff has really beautiful kind of quality to it.
And also the way they build their ships, you can see the pride in how it represents their own personal worth in the artistry behind it, the intricacy. Like, it's just beautiful to look at, and that's because of how much it represents who they are.
Both me and Nate and design have been heavily involved working with a concept artist for a palette that sort of invokes a richness, basically. So muted golds, pale golds. There's hints to sort of gemstones integrated in a very functional way, so they're sort of used as light accents.
While flying's quite involved, so is the shooting, especially when you've got the gimbaled weapons on the front. You're not waiting for the pilot to line up a shot directly. You'll be able to have a little bit of movement there yourself. So while the pilot's trying to track the target, the gunner will be able to shoot within a nice range of that. The dual seats kind of came about because we also wanted the seats to eject, and we really didn't want to force the pilot to eject the gunner as well. But you're also not restricted to this pilot-gunner thing either, because this ship is a Banu ship produced for humans. You will be able to get in there, fly it on your own, be the pilot and the gunner, but if you want a friend to pop in there with you, they can do some engineering work, they can jump on the weapons if they want to, so you're a bit more free.
And this has been quite exciting. I think the whole team is pretty excited to work on it. It sounds a bit of a crazy mix, but when people see the images, it all comes together, and it's very obviously not human, and hopefully, obviously Banu. But I think it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to seeing it sort of come through the production process and then turn up on people's screens.
The Banu Defender makes a great companion piece to the merchantman by protecting valuable cargo that many Banu merchants depend on, or cargo that you have and you depend on too.
Yes, and starting tomorrow, you can get your very own Banu Defender. This sale ends May 1st, so don't miss your chance to add this special ship to your hangar.
Yeah, we've also put together a helpful guide to interacting with the Banu on our website, complete with travel tips for anyone planning a voyage to the Protectorate. It's really cool, and I definitely recommend checking it out.
Up next, we have a special announcement regarding our Star Citizen referral program and referral contest.
Yeah, not only have we added new reward levels to the program, you can also now earn a special trip to this year's Gamescom. Take a look.
Hello, citizens. I'm Sandy Gardner. Welcome to the Million Mile High Club. I'm here with Tyler Nolan to discuss our new 2017 RSI referral contest
and updated referral program. If you aren't familiar with the Star Citizen referral program, it's a way to earn in-game rewards by recruiting friends to Star Citizen. We're now adding new levels to the referral ladder, which you can see on the referral program page.
And now on to the really fun part, the new referral contest. Any new citizens you recruit from the start of the contest until August 8 will get you additional in-game rewards.
It only takes one new referral point to get an in-game Star Kitten t-shirt that your character can wear in the verse.
And you can also get a Star Kitten pink dragonfly by gaining 10 new referral points before the contest ends.
But remember, to receive these fun Star Kitten prizes, you have to get these referral points during the contest.
You might be asking yourself, what's Star Kitten? Star Kitten is our new in-lore product line. Sally is the first member of the Star Kitten family. You can learn more about her on the referral program page.
So it doesn't matter whether you have no referrals so far or 1,000. Once the contest starts, your next referral gets you Star Kitten. It's the perfect shirt to wear in the verse.
That's not all. The referral contest gets even better. The first person who has a lifetime total of 2942 referral points by August 8th will receive a free trip to Gamescom.
Plus, whichever other backer has the highest lifetime total of referral points at the end of the contest will receive an Idris M.
The Gamescom trip will include an event ticket, airfare, hotel stay for one, and a chance to meet with Chris Roberts and other members of the CIG development team.
While the Idris M will include a chance to blow a lot of stuff up.
Woohoo! Again, to earn a free trip to Gamescom, the magic total to reach is 2942 points using Star Citizen referral codes.
We already have some great contenders vying for the Gamescom package. Let's take a look.
Man, I heard about the game, really when it first started up in the crowdfunding pretty early on. And for me, it was about finding something that wasn't out there.
I think the thing that I'm looking forward to most is just supporting organizational operations. So if we're doing mining or if we're doing transport or anything along those lines, not only just acting in a defensive manner in my combat ship, but also coordinating the other ships in our fleet. I think that's something that's going to be really exciting for me.
There's so many other things that I wanted to get involved in, data running, escorting VIPs, going on attack runs to the Vandal homeworlds, really trading and exploring and mining, those type of things. There's so many different professions in Star Citizen that I'm interested in, and I hope to have the opportunity to really delve into the mechanics, the game mechanics of those particular professions.
To help one of these top contenders or your friends get to Gamescom, just use their referral code.
Simply click on the link in the description below for more details on the contest.
And if you want to follow the contest leaderboard, you can find it on the Spectrum announcement page. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the verse. The new referral contest starts today. Learn how you can earn this trip to Gamescom by clicking on the link in the description for more details.
Yeah, speaking of Gamescom, subscribers and concierge members can purchase early access tickets this Saturday. And on Sunday, tickets will be available for everyone to purchase. Check the RSI website for details.
Yes, they go quickly. Like last year, we'll have an interactive booth, live show, and opportunities to meet the CIG team. So we hope to see you in Cologne, Germany.
Yep, it'll be great to see you, as always, in Germany. That's all for this week's episode of ATV. Please join us tomorrow at noon for Happy Hour Game Dev, where Jared Huckabee, Eric Caron Davis, and Sean Tracy will create a production schedule live, very exciting, and answer your questions about the recent 3.0 production schedule report released last Friday.
Also, just as a reminder, next week is the last week to purchase store merchandise with shipping included in the total. After that, shipping will be added at checkout. Right now, everything in store is being sold at a discount, so make sure to get your Dragonfly poster set, your Connie model, or a deck of playing cards while there's still time.
I need a new deck of playing cards. I think I'm missing a few in the one I was trying to play poker with the other night. Anyway, as always, I'd like to thank our backers for your continued support. You make Star Citizen possible every day.
Yes, you do. And we're also very grateful to all of our subscribers. Tomorrow, subscribers will receive the next issue of Jump Point.
Yeah, and the Gladius Valiant Free Flight is still available to subscribers through the end of the month. So don't miss your chance to test fly this great spacecraft.
And if you're interested in learning more about our subscriber program, check out the link in the description.
So thanks for watching, and we'll see you
around the verse.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.